No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
The streak is dead. Long live the greatest hockey team to ever grace God's green earth. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now. With Dave Manouk, with Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss a game that is certainly not going to go down in the annals of NHL history as one of the best of all time, but for a Winnipeg Jets team desperately in need of good news and desperately in need of a win. They get both in tonight's contest, an ugly, but at the same time, oh so pretty 3-2 overtime victory over the Buffalo Sabres. Gentlemen, good to see you both on this Thursday night. The Jets starting off a streak of 3 and 4 nights, so you know that they wanted to get off on a good note against a equally struggling Buffalo Sabres team, and they do get it, albeit in overtime, but they'll take the 2 points and run all the way to the bank with those. Nice to see you both.
What's up, boys? And like you said, Drew, sometimes it's not a great game. It's not a great performance, but, you know, you get it to overtime and then, you know, you take care of business in overtime, even though, you know, the Sabres, I would say, had the better looks, right? But I gassed Josh Morrissey with the really long, you don't usually see breakaways that start like at your own face-off circle, right?
At the hash marks.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I thought, you know, Lowry, you know, if any guy deserved a goal, you know, in this game, like he I thought was really good tonight. We talked about, he was arguably the Jets' best forward last game. And so, yeah, you know, I think the biggest thing for me, guys, in this game is the Scheifele line breaks out a little bit, right?
Yes.
Like I wouldn't call it a full breakout, boys. Like it's not exactly like, you know, they had 5 or 6 goals or anything like that.
They were noticeable for all the right reasons.
Right. And Connor, I thought that was one of his best games in a while, because obviously, you know, guys, Kyle Connor's a goal scorer. He can distribute the puck. Dave M always talks about how he's always even Steven with the same amount of goals and same amount of assists every year and in his career, right? But it's the way I've always said, the way he hunts the puck and he forechecks. And I thought he was back checking really nicely. So I thought, you know, Connor was really pacing that line tonight. Obviously, you know, Velarde gets the goal. Velarde had some other chances in the game. Scheifele, guys, is finally starting to look like the Mark Scheifele that we've become accustomed to. Obviously,
can we talk about that for a second? Is it not so bizarre? Like, you know, he suffers whatever the injury is.
Okay.
You know, he's struggling with it. Clearly, it's evident that he's struggling with it. You know, he's not taking the draws. He's not very noticeable. He's not very effective. And you would think it's going to take some time off. It's going to take some sort of healing. There's going to be some sort of process that he has to go through in order to get healthy again. And then just seems like he's randomly back to being healthy again. Like it's great for the Winnipeg Jets. It's great for Mark Scheifele to see that he looks like he's back to, you know, his regular and usual effectiveness. But it just seems like it healed itself without really even requiring any time off the ice, because it's not like the Jets have had a break. They're in the midst of still this crazy schedule. I'm just surprised that whatever was ailing him seems to have resolved itself without there needing to be any sort of extra attention or missing of any time whatsoever. That's all I find just curious.
I don't think I would say is that I had some folks say, did you think that was because he was trying to play on the wing? But the reality was he was fine the last game. He took 14 faceoffs in the loss against the St. Louis Blues. And the point I would make to someone is that, remember, like, it wasn't like he was kind of on the wing, but he was still playing center. Like, he wasn't taking faceoffs, but then he was having his center responsibilities, and Velarde was playing on the wing. So look, I agree with you, Drew. I said this after the first period. I said, this looks a lot like the old Mark Scheifele that we're used to seeing, and his shot looked more effective and his faceoffs were better. So do I think he's at 100%? Not quite, but do I think he is clearly feeling a little bit better than he was 2-3 games ago. There's no question about it. He looked much improved from what I could see in the last couple of games, right, Ezzy? So
and like the comment, I just sorry I didn't post it. I lost it. It was about a couple minutes ago. The comment was that he had some bite in his game, and I agree with that. I just checked. He was credited with 3 hits in the game, and that's another thing too. When look, we'll get into it probably on the Saturday show about Scheifele not making Team Canada. I don't think we have to spend too much time on it. No. We all agree it's unfortunate. Obviously, Scheifele wanted to make Team Canada. It's a tough team to make. We're not going to get into it, but
I think it's great for the Winnipeg Jets. Just for the record, I think it's great for the Winnipeg Jets.
If it means extra motivation, then I agree with you 100%, Drew.
And extra time off the ice to rest.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good point. Yeah,
I think that's a factor as well. I mean, I know why all these teams go through the motions and everything else about, having to support these tournaments, because it's all about hockey related revenue. So it benefits the salary cap and everything like that. But I bet that if you injected the general managers with truth serum and the head coaches with truth serum and said, do you really, would you rather your guys get 2 weeks off, in February, or would you rather that more of your guys are playing in this ultimately meaningless tournament? I bet you they would all say we'd like them to be off the ice and kicking their feet up more than anything else.
Well, think about the percentage of players that actually play in this tournament is so low, right?
Right.
So the reality is, Drew, basically what this is it's an appetizer for the Olympics, but it's also just a 2-week break for the majority, 95% of the rest of the league, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with you, but I back to Scheifele's play tonight. I thought, Dave mentioned he was shooting the puck more, obviously picks up 2 assists, but it's all about being up the middle. And obviously, guys, we might not ever know what his injury was. Scheifele, I don't believe Dave has said anything. I think he's decided to not say anything publicly about it.
He's been coy.
We could speculate what it is, but it's obviously something that prevented him from taking faceoffs. I mean, that was obvious. We've been covering the team since Scheifele was drafted, and Scheifele rarely, if ever, plays on the wing. So obviously, it was a wrist. It was something. I think you guys would agree. It's probably an upper body, but it's healed up, and he's starting to look like himself. So that's a good thing for the Jets first and foremost. And I really liked Hayden Fleury's game, and obviously, guys, we'll get into the D pairs, but wasn't it a three handsome guys on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show on Saturday morning that suggested dropping? It might have been Drew actually suggested dropping Dylan DeMello. Could have been Dave. I forget. It wasn't me. Yeah. But anyways,
the handsome part was a stretch. I would suggest at the best of time. Although babyface Ginsburg over here without any facial hair, you look like you might gonna get carded if you're buying beer at the liquor store or something.
Just wait a week and a half, Drew, and I'll have a full beard back. So it's not going to last very long. But all I wanted to say was I thought Hayden Fleury looked a lot better tonight playing with Dylan DeMello. And big surprise, because Dylan DeMello is such a solid defensive defenseman, such a stabilizing force on that D-core, right? And obviously Morrissey and Pionk, they had a very strong game. And we talked about, Morrissey directly, his rush up the ice directly resulted in Lowry's overtime goal. So that's great to see. So going ahead to these 2 games in the weekend, you'd have to think that there's a good chance that they're going to keep those D pairs together.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm glad you brought it up, because I was going to make mention of the D pairs. The third pair, we'll figure it out. I mean, we still have many questions as to why that is the third pair for the Winnipeg Jets. Although I thought Ville Heinola looked noticeable for the right reasons tonight, and we've beaten the Logan Stanley horse to death. We'll get into it in the Betway game recap, because that won't look good on him. But the Play Now game recap. We don't need to get into it any deeper before then. But I thought Hayden Fleury looked good. I liked, Morrissey and Pionk. I thought gave the Jets some jump. This is what the Jets needed tonight. They needed some jump. They needed a little bit of a boost. They needed a little bit of speed. And this wasn't a perfect game by any stretch, Dave, but you just thought that they looked more like the Winnipeg Jets tonight than they had in the previous, 3, 4, 5 games, especially Tuesday against St. Louis. Now, Buffalo is not a good hockey team, and they were without
Rasmus Dahlin.
Rasmus Dahlin. He was out with back spasms, and that makes a world of difference.
I think it's just day to day, though, Drew. I don't think it's anything long term.
Yeah, that's what Lindy Ruff said. It's day to day, but when you're talking back spasms, who knows? But that's a Buffalo problem, not a Winnipeg problem. And he's a difference maker when he's on the ice. So the Jets will be glad to take advantage of him not being in the lineup. But I just thought there was more speed to their game. It was more north-south. There was more control of the puck, being able to grind down low. And you should be able to do all these things against Buffalo, by the way. These are things that you should be able to accomplish. So it's good to see that they were able to accomplish them. And by the way, it's not worth mentioning, of course, that the Jets battle back twice from 1-goal deficits to eventually get this win. So they come from behind on 2 different occasions tonight to pull out the victory in overtime, Dave.
Yeah, no, and I agree with your jump in the step. I thought Gabriel Velarde was quite good. Great. I thought there were a couple of shifts that I was like, wow, that's, that was what you want to see from a guy who you want to potentially commit to long term, right, Ezzy? Mm-hmm. And I don't let's not
61% possession number for Gabe Velarde. Led all Jets tonight.
No, he was good. It was evident. Like I said, that to me, that was one of his best games that I've seen him play. Like I thought he was really taking control, especially during that. There's that one shift I don't, maybe in the second period where he was all over the place. But again, this is not a Picasso, and you're outshot 9-1. Although it was weird, it was 9-1 at one point, and then it went back to 8-2. So maybe it was 8-1.
They pressed the wrong button initially, and then they had to move it to the other column.
But the point is that it's a 2-2 game, and the Sabres took control in that third period in terms of the shots. I mean, again, they weren't terribly high danger, I would suggest, but they just had the puck. And they were getting it on, they're directing on the net. Jets had the puck as well. They just weren't directing a lot of shots at Ukko, Pekka, Lokkonen, or whatever. But
UPL.
UPL. There's a reason why they just call him UPL.
No, I know. But so again, you like the response from the Jets. I liked overall, like I said, the top line seemed to be playing better. There doesn't seem to be a ton of chemistry between Lambert and Perfetti. And I know that there was a lineup change. And, after the lineup change actually is where the Jets stopped getting a lot of shots. That was in the third period to start. They switched Iafallo and Lambert. But at the end of the day, I thought the Lowry line was a little bit better and they were getting some more chances. The team just, again, like I said, they're just not that same structured team that we're used to seeing, guys. But I would say that there was a little bit more Winnipeg Jets hockey overall. And I would say that the jump that we haven't seen over the course of the losing streak is 4 games, but the Jets play from where it was to what it's become has been longer than 4 games, obviously.
Yeah, the last time the Jets played what I would describe as a complete game was the win against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm pretty sure you, me, and Ezzy could have beat the Pittsburgh Penguins that night. That's how bad Pittsburgh was. But, I mean, so tonight, again, not perfect, not pretty, not something that the Jets are going to, write home about, but it's at least the signs of that you're coming through the other side of the slump that they've been in. And that is important, of course, as this is a sequence of 3 and 4 nights for the Winnipeg Jets, or 3 and 4 days as the case may be, with the afternoon games and then the early evening, late afternoon game on Sunday against the Blue Jackets. So these signs are pointing, I would argue, upward trajectory. But before we get into this, just that third period was the sterling example of why there shouldn't be a loser point in the NHL. Because, I mean, people paid money for this game.
Not a lot of people.
Allegedly,
there were a lot of empty seats in that lower bowl.
Yeah, allegedly the attendance, according to the game sheet, was
I can't even listen to this crap.
14,497.
No way.
Sure, Dave. I'm pretty sure that's what the motto. I'm pretty sure that's what the motto of a legal curve is. I can't listen to this crap. But 14,497.
Yeah, you know what, Drew? I buy that, and there's 14,000 people in this chat. This is the best one ever. 14,000 views. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
And if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle.
Yeah, that's tickets sold. That's not people in attendance. But the first 2 periods were not great hockey. That third period was 2 teams in opposite conferences who were fine skipping the third period altogether, and each team getting the 1 point and taking it over to overtime. That's what you saw in that final 20 minutes of tonight's game. Just awful that this is what the NHL, considers to be acceptable entertainment. Oh, by the way, we're going to expand with another 2 or 4 teams so that we can make this the regular basis.
I did say that to Ezzy when we were chit-chatting during the third, and I was like, oh, man, and you want to add 2 more teams? And the only thing I would suggest, Drew, to add to your point was that it seemed like both teams adopted that for the first 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes of overtime, because they're like, oh, well, we played such an ugly, boring, slow hockey game. Let's make this overtime,
maybe
which
we'll
is really pretty exciting.
Then maybe we'll get a point and a half if we take it to a shootout.
And maybe there's a reason why we haven't seen the Jets play overtime since October 24th.
Yeah, well, the last overtimes have been quick and decisive. The Jets have won them in, but it has been a while since they were last in an overtime. And of course, they're still undefeated when they go to extra time this year, which is a bit of a statistical anomaly at this point. But nonetheless, the Jets do get the victory by that 3-2 margin over the Buffalo Sabres. Let's break it down goal by goal. We like to call it the
Play Now game recap.
That's right. It's the Play Now game recap here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Sign up for Play Now and get a casino welcome bonus up to $150. Play Now is Manitoba's local, legal, and secure gambling site and the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Conditions apply, 18 plus, and of course, enjoy responsibly. Not the start that the Winnipeg Jets wanted, as the Buffalo Sabres opened the scoring early on in tonight's contest, 3 minutes and 27 seconds into the game, with Vlad Nemesnikov in the penalty box, having taken a hooking minor. Tage Thompson, great player, real great player. 14th goal of the year already for Buffalo. Jason Zucker and Alex Tuck getting the assists on this one. And it's, nothing particularly pretty about it. There's traffic in front of Hellebuck, and it's a nice, a well-placed shot by Tage Thompson, I would say, as he able to pick a corner a little bit on Connor Hellebuck. Maybe not the best goal Hellebuck's ever given up, but, on a power play, the Jets, they're having some penalty kill troubles a little bit so far this year. The power play has been better than the penalty kill. And as a result, the Sabres get an early 1-0 lead, which is exactly how they started against the Colorado Avalanche on Tuesday night as well.
Before I talk about this goal, can we also just talk about how sharp those old school black Sabres jerseys look?
They're good.
I don't like them.
You don't like them? Okay, Drew, that's fine. I mean, look, to each his own, right? But it makes me, I don't know if about you guys, but it just makes me think of Dominic Hasek.
I went with Miro Satan.
Yeah, Miro Satan, or I was going to say Michael Pekka.
Someone also said Rob Ray in my response to my Miro Satan. They said Rob Ray.
Yeah,
I kind of see as well.
Rob Ray, when Rob Ray, he was wearing the blue and the white with the old, the real old school 80s, early 90s ones.
Sure.
These ones.
I think he might have worn the black.
He might have worn the black though, Drew. I actually think he did.
I just can't. I mean, I'm just thinking about Mayday when he scored.
Well, yeah, no, I understand. That's what he wore
overtime.
That was what he wore consistently. But
yeah.
By the way, I think TH Power got it right.
I saw it from TH Power there. That's
Drew doesn't like something weird.
I like that comment. That was a funny comment, I gotta say.
True.
I just when it comes to the options for Sabres jerseys, that's not the one I would choose. I think the classic blue and yellow with
that's awesome.
white.
The one that
is
Pat LaFontaine wore.
Yeah, the ones that Pat LaFontaine wore. Exactly right. To me, those are.
I've got that jersey.
Those are nicer
actually.
than these ones that they wore tonight. But that's at least you
the
railed
Sabres
us.
The Sabres have had jerseys that are much uglier than the ones they were wearing tonight. Let's put it that way. Some of the alternate jerseys they've had over the years haven't been great.
Yeah, they had the turd burger, which is what our buddy Mike Harrington of the Buffalo News called it for so many years. That were just really sort of embarrassing looking. But I guess none of us are fashion plates, believe it or not. We're not mavens of the fashion world. There's no Mr. Maxwell's among this group. But
we're all wearing a legal curve tonight, right?
I'm actually not. I'm wearing a Bombers t-shirt.
Okay, well, no problem with that. Flin Flon Bombers or Winnipeg?
Winnipeg, sorry, not Flin Flon, but Winnipeg in this case.
Yeah, ask John Ginsburg if he's going to wear Flin Flon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he has probably an old school jersey from the 1960s you could wear if you want. But just one more thing before getting to this goal. Another guy that didn't make Team USA, Tage Thompson.
Yeah.
Again, these guys use it for motivation, right? And I'm not saying that Tage Thompson being snubbed by Team USA is the reason why he scored tonight. I'm just saying that Tage Thompson, you forget, right, guys? He had we have 46, 47 goals a couple of years ago, almost 100 points,
He's
right?
good.
So, I mean, it just shows you how good the players that are on all four of those teams, right? But the one thing I wanted to point out about this goal was I thought that the Jets were a little bit too loaded on one side. Like,
Yes.
you had Tage Thompson, who had a lot of time and space right at the faceoff circle. Rasmus Kupari was the player that I remember was a little bit out of position. But look, Tage Thompson's a great scorer. You do have an extra man, but I thought the Sabres were doing a nice job of kind of stretching the Jets D out on that power play. And as Drew mentioned, it's not the start that you wanted. I thought that line caused the Jets some problems tonight. The Tage Thompson, Jason Zucker, Alex Tuck line. Alex Tuck's another good player. The thing with this Buffalo Sabres team is they have such a small window or a small margin of error, right? Like, and especially with Rasmus Dahlin out of the lineup, hopefully, like we said, it's a short-term thing, but you never know with back spasms. But they've still got enough, like, they're only a few points out of a playoff spot. It's just like that's why they've been out of a playoff position for so long. They're just it's like the kind of classic, right, boys, like kind of just good enough to lose, right?
They don't know how to win. It takes, you have to learn how to win. You have to build
2011.
I mean, it's true though. I mean, remember what was it last year or 2 years ago? They were the best team in the league, after 15 or 16 games, and then they collapsed for the rest of the year after that.
Yeah.
They just can't ever sort of get over that hump and find a way, and which is hard to believe given the number of really high draft picks that they've had. Think about it.
I know.
They got they got Dahlin and they got Owen Power on the back end.
Dylan Cousins too is a high draft pick, right?
Cousins,
like 7th
sure.
overall or whatever.
Yeah, they got lots of there's no shortage of talent. Allegedly, but it hasn't translated into victories. Looking back at the replay here, and just it's sort of beating a dead horse at this point in time. But Logan Stanley gets beat by Alex Tuck behind the net, and that's what sort of allows Tuck to get the puck over to Zucker, and then it's just in the back of the net beforehand. And I just honestly, at this point in time, you're seeing a player in Logan Stanley who's got no confidence in his game, so it's almost doing him a disservice to keep putting him out there. Because nothing good is ever happening for him right now, and his mistakes are ending up behind Connor Hellebuck, which means they're only getting magnified each and every time that he's out there on the ice. So a guy who's desperately in need of something good to happen, and it's only bad after bad after bad after bad. And, of course, he's got that spotlight on him. And I know he would say, well, I don't read the media. I don't listen to the media. I don't read the clips. They know. They know indeed. So it's just the struggles continue for Logan.
When I walk in the room, I just hand him I go, here's the clippings, Logan, here
this
you
is
go.
This is what Mindell said last time.
No, but it's not. We've said this before, and again, we can get onto the Jets tying goal here in a second. But and I'm sure it'll come up on Saturday morning show, right? But I think that when you're talking about the defense and Logan Stanley specifically, I think what it ultimately comes down to is the Jets have a better option there with Colin Miller on the right side. So that's why it's kind of like Colin Miller. I think our buddy Garrett Hole was putting out like the stats, like his expected goals when he's on the ice are like the second best among defensemen. Colin Miller, that is. And Colin Miller's been fine. That's what's kind of perplexing, right? You signed Miller in the offseason to be your third pairing guy, and now you're playing Logan Stanley, and Logan Stanley's not playing better.
And you're playing Ville Heinola on his off wing.
Exactly. So that's, again, we don't have to beat a dead horse here, but I mean, it's just, that's why I think a lot of people are puzzled why Stanley continues to be in the lineup, because Miller's a better option.
Well, the only thing I would say, and I think I made the point on Saturday, and I think what the coaching staff is trying to do is ascertain what they have. And you can love them or hate them. You can want to disagree, but it's ultimately their asses on the line, not ours, not anyone in the chats. So they have to make the decisions that they think are going to be best for their hockey team. But ultimately, my speculation, my conjecture would be that the team is trying to see what they've got in Ville Heinola, see what they've got in Logan Stanley. You know what you have in Colin Miller. He's consistent. He's a very good third pairing option. I just think, again, my own personal impression is that these guys are taking a chance to see what they've got. Give these guys, like, they both had injuries. Obviously, Ville had the long injury. Then Logan Stanley's had two separate tours on the injured list. I think they want to give them a long runway, give them a bunch of games together. And again, you might not like it, you might not agree with it, but ultimately those are the guys who are making the decisions. But my reasoning, or my thought behind the reasoning, would be that they want to give them some rope, give them 10 games together, and then they'll see what they've got. And again, if they don't like it, then Scott O'Neill can go to the GM and say, listen, this is what we need to do in the lead up to the trade deadline.
Let me ask you that. Okay. I mean, that's your opinion and you're absolutely entitled to it. Let me ask you this question. Of the two, given everything you know about this organization and given everything that you've seen and how they've deployed people, of the two, which one gets yanked out of the lineup first? Because I fear that the answer might be the answer might be Ville Heinola, and Logan Stanley gets a longer leash than Ville Heinola. That's my concern, is that they seem to be willing to put up with Logan Stanley mistakes more than Ville Heinola mistakes.
But the only thing I would say quickly, and then I know we want to get to the goals, but like, again, we don't know if they were like I had suggested, Ville Heinola only getting 2 games of conditioning with the Moose, I don't think was enough. I thought he should have played 4 for Manitoba and then come up to the Jets and gotten a chance.
Sure.
I'm just wondering if they were slow playing him a little bit to not rush him and like not pull him because he was played poorly in that game, but
Load
simply
management,
because
you're saying.
Yeah, I think they were doing a little bit of load management with Ville Heinola. And then now, like I said, maybe he's feeling better. Now he's a little bit more up to speed as they've had some practices. They've got some games under his belt. Now they're going to go and run the 2 of them. So I don't think it's going to be Ville Heinola is got the short leash and Logan Stanley has the long leash. And that's not a height comment. I just think that they'll just, honestly, I think the team is trying to evaluate. Again, this is just my own observation, but I just think the team is trying to, again, figure out what they've got in these 2 players.
Fair enough.
I know what you're saying, Dave. You're justifying, but my argument would be that applies more to Ville Heinola than Logan Stanley.
I agree.
Logan Stanley's 26 years old. He's played well over 100 NHL games. I think around like 150 NHL games, right? So I think, like, don't we know what we have in Logan Stanley? As far as Stanley and Heinola together, yeah, we haven't seen them for an extended period of time. We've only seen a few games. But I know you're providing a case for why the Jets coaching staff is playing both of these players. I think it just doesn't apply as much to Stanley in my opinion. But we'll see what happens here, because obviously we'll get into the second goal, and that's the goal that was much more problematic for Stanley.
Yes, it was. The Jets do tie it up, though, and to the Jets' credit, they give up the early goal, but they tie it up 47 seconds later. Gabe Vilardi, his 10th of the year, he was a man against boys out there for a lot of tonight's game. One of his best performances from Gabe Vilardi, really single-handedly taking over a lot of the shifts and a lot of the flow of this game. Assist to Hayden Fleury and Mark Scheifele. It's a clean zone entry by the Jets, and then it's a good cycle. And it looked like briefly that, they were like in prime shooting position, one after another, and none of them shot. And you thought, oh my gosh, did they miss out on the opportunity? It looked like the puck was about to get out of the zone, but they keep it in. And then Hayden Fleury with a good shot and Gabe Vilardi with a better tip to tie the game up at 1. So a little too cute in part of this, but they get away with it by having the educated stick of Gabe Vilardi, a goal that withstood the challenge after the goal was scored. A terrible challenge. I don't know who from the Sabres coaching staff thought that was potentially goaltender interference.
Obviously, they don't have a Matt Prefontaine on their staff.
No kidding. And Matt Prefontaine showing his worth later
Has
on.
Matt
in
Prefontaine
this game.
ever gotten a call wrong? Like, I think maybe once.
Yeah, I'm sure he has, but he's pretty good at what he does. This one didn't make any sense. Yes, there's contact, but Vilardi is not in the crease.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see that, UPL, is outside of the crease and is reaching outside of the crease. So it's almost like they're beginning to make it pretty clear with the goaltender interference rules that if you are in the crease, you might get called for goaltender interference. But if you're outside the crease, you're going to be basically you're going to be in a safe spot. It seems like they've maybe, I say this today knowing that tomorrow there's going to be a call that's going to turn this entirely on its head, but it seems like there's a little bit more structure into what is or isn't goaltender interference tonight. And certainly on this one, I don't think anybody was surprised that this goal stood, because Gabe Vilardi did exactly what you're supposed to do, which is go net front, be outside of the blue paint, and get your stick on the puck. And in this case, it worked to the Winnipeg Jets' advantage.
Yeah, maybe that goal would have been disallowed if this was 1999. And funny enough, it was Brett Hull who scored against the Buffalo Sabres in the famous 19. No, I'm obviously joking, but yeah, that was pretty clearly, guys, not goalie interference. I don't think anybody was thinking goalie interference. At least I certainly wasn't watching that game. After, I just thought it was a nice tip, and like you said, Velarde goes hard to the net. What I love here is obviously. I think you mentioned it, Drew. Velarde's the one who starts everything, and then it's a cycle, but it's a high cycle, right? Yeah. You have Scheifele and Velarde and Connor and Morrissey and Pionk all doing their thing, and I love, like, on entry right after the move that Connor. I know Dave noticed this. The move that Connor put on Ryan McLeod, the inside-outside move. Like, there was just, like, to me, that was what we've been accustomed to seeing from the Jets. Like, that type of work, that type of skill on display, and you're now causing teams to get out of their comfort zone, right? And they're starting to chase, right? We haven't seen enough of that from that line over the last couple of weeks. Certainly, we didn't see a lot of that on the road trip, right? And then Velarde goes to the net, and Connor and Scheifele are doing a nice job kind of cycling, and Fleury just puts a nice shot, and Velarde, nice tip, right? Like, not much to it. And you love the fact that, 45 seconds after, you love that the Jets had that pushback, because we certainly didn't see enough of that on the road trip.
You're right. Exactly right. The Sabres retake the lead late in the, I guess not quite late in the first period, about 7 minutes later, 7 minutes and 15 seconds to be exact. Dylan Cousins, he gets his 6th of the year assist to Zach Benson, and Clifton getting his 6th assist on the year as well. That's Connor Clifton. It starts with a clean zone exit from the Sabres zone, and you just don't like how, I mean, again, I'm honestly, I'm at the point where I'm beginning to feel a bit bad about it, but you don't like how Logan Stanley is playing this one at all. It's just a free path right up the middle of the ice for the Buffalo Sabres and for Dylan Cousins. Ville Heinola is trying to knock down the pass. It gets through him, but Logan Stanley is big. I don't know if you folks have known that, but apparently he's quite tall. But it's just a soft stick attempt at defense here. This requires body position. It requires you getting to the inside leverage. Yeah. It requires you putting your body against Dylan Cousins to prevent him from getting right in front of Connor Hellebuyck. And instead, he does nothing of the sort. It doesn't look good on the replay. It's not going to look good on the video. It's just reprehensible defense at this point for a player who should know better, but for whatever reason, either can't or won't execute properly. And it's 2-1 for the Buffalo Sabres at this point, Ezzy.
Yeah, and this is the Sabres second line. I think it's considered second line, the second or third line, Cousins, Benson, and Peterka. Yeah. And what Stanley does is, because it's Peterka who's at the Jets blue line, if on the right side, I mean, it's to the left of Hellebuyck, but watching it on TV, it's on the right side, and he's at the blue line.
Stanley's left to the
yes. And so Stanley, I guess, is thinking that
wide.
Well, Cousins bringing the puck. He's bringing the puck with speed through the neutral zone. Yep. And I guess what Stanley might have been thinking there is, well, he could pass the puck to Peterka, and then I'm going to have to go, close the gap on Peterka. But the problem is that he just reads it wrong, and he puts himself in a position where he takes himself out of the middle of the ice just a little bit.
Yes.
And then Cousins passes it to, it's a give and go between Cousins and Benson. And Stanley it's too easy for Cousins to go up the middle, and Stanley doesn't really do anything there. Like, he doesn't get a stick on him. He doesn't get a body on him. If he's in a better position there, closer to the middle of the ice, then he's able to maybe lay a body check, or at least, stop Cousins in his tracks, right? So again,
he needs to get his body between Cousins and Hellebuyck,
right?
And we hear it on the broadcast all the time, Dave. Kevin Sawyer says it all the time about being, above the play and having body position and using the inside leverage. And you look at this one, and Stanley is playing the outside shoulder of Dylan Cousins, which is just not a threat. The threat isn't the outside shoulder. The threat is coming right down Main Street. It's just a north-south play. And as a result, Dylan Cousins is just able to walk right in. Nobody puts a body on him. By nobody, I mean Stanley. It's just he's not reading the play well enough. And is that a function of confidence and a lack thereof? Is it a function of just an inability to understand what's being thrown at him by the opponent? I have to believe it's more confidence than an inability to understand. But whatever it is, it's poor defensive play that results in a Buffalo taking a 2-1 lead.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was trying to explain in the chat, we're not particularly, this isn't the anti-Logan Stanley show. We don't really care one way or the other, but we have to break down the game. And when you break down the game, and he was on for both, he played a role in both goals against, you have to talk about it. You have to mention it. It does bear mention. And you're right, Drew. I mean, look, who else is he taking? I mean, Cousins is his guy. Ville Heinola is trying to intercept the pass. And so you've got, I mean, again, Stanley shoulder checked. He looked to see if there was anybody around him. He knew he had Cousins to take, and he's just a fraction too slow. He doesn't get to him in time. And as a result, the Cousins is unmolested in front of the net first of all, you got to credit Zach Benson. He's such a skilled player. I mean, obviously fans of the Winnipeg Ice got a chance to see him here in Winnipeg for a couple of years doing his thing, but I mean, it's a perfect pass onto his stick, right? So you credit Zach Benson for making that pass and Dylan Cousins for putting it home. But again, good body positioning, good defense doesn't allow him to have that opportunity. He's not wide, guys. And it's, for the record, it's not just a Logan Stanley thing. I mean, we can talk about it throughout the course of the game. There was a play in the third period where Hayden Fleury was in front of the net. There's a guy coming from the side, and there was a guy in front. And so Hayden Fleury literally backed off, allowed the guy to cut him to right on the net, and didn't actually kind of put himself into a no man's land. So guys made mistakes. The only difference was that didn't result in a goal against. So it's still a mistake. It's still something I'm sure the coaching staff is going to show Fleury and say, well, you've got to be more clear cut in your decision making, because all you did was put yourself into a bad position. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like I said, we just looked at this play, and you can't help but look at this play and see that Logan Stanley wasn't in the position he needed to be to clear the. You talk about a guy who's, I don't care about whether he's 6'7" or 6'1" or whatever. You're in front of the net, clear the front of the net. That is your responsibility as a defenseman, to not allow a guy to have that much time and space. And it's happened too many times on this current Jets losing streak,
right? Not
Not solely by Logan Stanley, but he's been responsible a couple of times, where guys have had time in front of the net, and Connor Hellebuck is going, where's my defense? Like, this is nuts. What's going on here? So you have to point these things out. I mean, we can't lie on the show. We can't pretend like what we're seeing, we're not seeing. He made a mistake. It cost his team a goal. It's 2-1 for the Sabres.
Yeah, and before we move on to the next goal, Doug is saying this in the chat, and it's worth mentioning that you probably want to see Ville Heinola play that a little bit better, maybe be a little bit more aggressive against Zach Benson there. I mean, I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to knock down the pass, but maybe a little bit more decisive in his decision making, and that pass doesn't go through. So it's not great on either of them, but it is worse on Logan Stanley in my mind than it is on Ville Heinola, just because Stanley. Again, it's just, we said it, we don't need to harp on it, but you just don't like how that's played really by either of that young Jets defensive pairing. 2-1 after 20 minutes for the Buffalo Sabres. The Jets get a golden power play opportunity, a full 2-minute 5-on-3 early in the second period. You have Tage Thompson going to the box, as well as, who else went to the box there? Jacob Bryson also went to the box on the same penalty, or Jacob Bryson takes the interference penalty. That's the original call. And then Tage Thompson takes a tripping penalty in the course of the 6-on-5.
You don't see that very often, do you?
No, you don't. But I think that's the second full 2-minute 5-on-3 the Jets have had this year. If I don't remember the game, but there was another instance earlier this year where the Jets, a penalty was called against the opponent, and the opponent, so in the ensuing delayed penalty, one of the players on whatever that team was stayed in the play and played after having their helmet knocked off. And the rule, of course, is once your helmet's knocked off, you either have to go to the bench or you have to pick up your helmet and then rejoin the play. So I think it's the second time this year that the Jets have had 2 2-minute 5-on-3s. And in this one, looked like for a while there the Jets maybe weren't going to capitalize, but they do with about 27 seconds to go in the 5-on-3. Kyle Connor, his 14th on the year, assist to Mark Scheifele, and assist to Josh Morrissey. And the Jets, you know that this is a real big sort of turning point in the game, that if Buffalo is able to kill off this 5-on-3, this full 2-minute 5-on-3, then that would be a real boost to them. Instead, it's not the prettiest goal Kyle Connor's ever scored, but he shoots it hard enough and effectively enough that it gets through UPL to tie the game up at 2 very early in the second period, Ezzy.
Yeah, and what you love most, I mean, and we've talked about this. I mean, a 5-on-3, I mean, you expect to score. Every team in the NHL, I think we'd agree, should expect to score, especially when it's a full 5-on-3, I should mention. It's a little bit different if you've got like a 30-second 5-on-3, but especially when you've got a full 5-on-3, every team in the NHL should expect to score, especially the Jets, who have the best, I think they still have the best power play. Or
No, New Jersey. You're
Is it
Devils,
New Jersey?
buddy. You're
Oh,
Devils.
is it? Okay. No, I wasn't goading you there, Dave. I thought the Jets might have still been number one.
No.
I guess despite scoring tonight, they're still not. But you know what I'm saying? The second best power play in the league, right? And obviously, it's not going to be a surprise for anybody to hear that. I mean, the motion on this goal was really nice, and you love how Kyle
There's a
Connor.
lot of skating room when it's a 5-on-3.
Well, and Kyle Connor. I mean, he just goes like kind of power skates backwards into a shooting position, and you could see guys on this power play that.
What just happened?
Yeah, did you just add a sound effect to your own breakdown of the goal?
Yeah, I was like, what is going on? It sounded like an airplane just took
like
off.
A jet just went by. Like, is that something you've added?
That's something new in St. James?
No. Well, I am close to the airport here in St. James.
I was going to say,
but
is the flight path going right through your house? Is that how it works?
I have NHL.com here on my screen muted, but by accident I unmuted it. So that's what you heard there. So that was the sound of the Jets power play taken off.
Star wipe, star wipe, star wipe, star wipe.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, obviously, guys, what was it? 3 power plays the Jets were unsuccessful prior to that, but I thought the power play looked good, right? And I actually really liked. I forget if it was the second Jets power play or if it was the third power play. I'd have to go back and look, but when the second, you guys remember when the second unit started? The second unit started first on the power play, and I thought it looked really good. I really liked Niederreiter out there. I really liked. I think Lambert was actually out there on the second power play unit, if I'm not mistaken.
He was.
But yeah, I mean, this is obviously huge, guys. If you don't score on a full 5-on-3, that is so deflating. Yeah. So that was huge. And as Drew said, it's not a pretty goal, but obviously, Kyle Connor's shot deceived UPL enough that it squeaked through him. So, and that's huge, guys, because the Jets power play has not been that sharp over the last, I don't know, basically going back to the start of the road trip.
Yeah.
Well, and the only thing I was going to add, Ezzy, is that it's crazy to think that, this team, like you said, they burnt through the whole. When did they score in the power play, Drew?
It was late.
But with
20 seconds left.
37 seconds left in it.
Yeah. So they burnt through most of it. But the amazing thing about Kyle Connor, I was just going to say, is that was his first goal in 7 games, and he still has 14 goals.
Yeah.
Like, it just goes to show you how hot he was before he like the rest of the team went cold, because I don't know who told me, it might have been my dad actually, but he said something like that the Jets scoring went from being obviously first in the NHL to, I think, like, since the last few weeks at least, they're like 25th or something. They haven't been scoring, as everyone who watches these post-game shows knows. And again, like I said, Kyle Connor had 14 goals after not scoring for 7 games. Pretty significant.
Yeah, so 2-2 at that point in time. Have to make mention, almost his first career goal, that being Tyson Kozak. You sort of feel bad for the kid. First career game in the NHL, first career goal taken off the board by Matt Prefontaine, the aforementioned Matt Prefontaine.
Matt Prefontaine doesn't like first career NHL goals, apparently. No, but I mean, I think, guys, like, watching the broadcast, I'm sure we'll get people in the chat chiming in here too. When they were showing, and just first and foremost, great for Tyson Kozak, right? Like, he was a late draft pick,
7th rounder
from Souris, Manitoba, first NHL game. And how awesome is it that his parents and I think he had at least one sister, maybe two sisters in the box there. But when they showed the Kozak family during the review, and it looked like they were biting off all of their nails, like just pacing back and forth in that luxury box. I just wanted to make mention of that. It was pretty funny to watch how anxious they were. And I think all of us would be anxious, if we had a family member that could have their first NHL goal taken away, right? So unfortunate, but look, that was goalie interference all day long.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you hope that the kid gets, you hope the kid plays the next game and gets his first career goal.
He's going back to Rochester tomorrow.
Yeah, you hear stories about that. People in baseball, the guy had one at bat in his entire baseball career, and he, and he got hit by the pitch on his first pitch, and that was the entirety of his Major League Baseball career. Hopefully that won't be the case.
Almost the pride
of Souris. Backed up by Morwena, Manitoba's James Reimer.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, 2-2 after 40 minutes. The only power play in the third period came because Vlad Nemestikov stood on the ice and didn't move, and the opponent ran into him. And that was a tripping penalty at the 12:51 mark of the third period. Kudos to the officials for falling for that one, hook, line, and sinker, because they absolutely did it. You could see it coming. Vlad Nemestikov saw it coming as well. He's like, I'm just standing here. The guy ran into me, and he fell, and somehow I'm going to the box for tripping.
He literally did not move.
Did not move. Stationary. Like they
could have called him for a pick, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of a basketball pick. But
a basketball pick if somebody's getting open as a result of the play. The guy just skated at him and
phantom pick.
There was
five
nothing there.
Power plays for the Jets. You knew that the Sabres were going to get a couple calls their way.
Yes, that's true. You did know that they were eventually going to get a call along those lines. But nonetheless, the Jets kill that one off, and then they head to overtime, which was really quite a boring overtime, to be perfectly blunt, up until the last minute at the 3:59 mark of overtime. So 1 minute before it was going to go to a shootout, Josh Morrissey collects a loose puck. He's at the end of a shift. He collects it at his own hash marks, as he said earlier in the post-game show, the Play Now post-game show, and he's gassed, but he's chugging up the ice, and he's almost out. He's almost caught by Bowen Byram, but he drops it off to Adam Lowry, and Lowry gets a shot off, and then there's a rebound and a little bit of a loose puck, and Lowry is able to deposit the rebound behind UPL. I thought Connor Hellebuck might have gotten an assist on this one, as it's his save on the I think it was off of Alex Tuck. He makes the original save off Alex Tuck that leads to the odd man break for the Jets, but no dice for Connor Hellebuck, but dice for the Winnipeg Jets as they get the victory off the Adam Lowry OT winner to improve to whatever their record is now. I guess
19-8-0.
19-8. Is that right?
Yeah, 19-8-0.
Yeah, 19-8-0 with a 3-2 victory, a much-needed 3-2 victory to stop the 4-game losing streak in its tracks before they head to Chicago and meet the Blackhawks and their new head coach on Saturday afternoon.
They haven't announced an interim head coach, have they?
Well, it's the Rockridge head coach.
Oh, they have? Okay.
Yeah, it's a Rockridge head coach. But no, I just want to say on this one play, it's a pretty impressive play by Josh Morrissy. I mean, he is.
Where does he find those legs, Dave?
Well, he just finished
below his waist.
Yeah, he just finished.
That's where I set you up for that one. That's fair.
He just finished defending the 2-on-1 chance for Tuck.
Yeah,
and then he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go try winning this game. And you just see him burning it, and it's like, maybe it's that Team Canada boost or bump that he got. But he turned on the afterburners, and you just like it. You like the fact that, he sees Adam Lowry. He knows that he's going to get caught, gets it over to Lowry, who's got some opening, and then credit Adam Lowry. I mean, again, sticks with the puck, focuses on getting his own rebound.
Size in this case.
Yeah, uses his size and gets the rebound and puts that puck home. And it, look, is it the greatest win of all time? Of course not, but it's a necessary win. Mm-hmm. An overtime loss isn't going to cut it. A shootout loss.
It snaps a stinky losing streak, Dave. And exactly, sometimes a win like this, even though it's imperfect, can hopefully lead to much better things, right? So at the end of the day, getting that extra point is huge.
You feel a lot better about yourself heading into the Saturday, Sunday. You have with the win, and you can stop talking about a losing streak.
That's
right. Chicago, and you're like, okay, we sort of we found our game again, and now you're playing two weaker teams. in the Blackhawks. I mean, the Blue Jackets are actually playing, they had been playing some decent hockey, 6-3-1 in their last 10. But you're playing two teams that you expect to be better than on Saturday, Sunday. And now that you've got that win in your belt, you're probably feeling pretty good about yourself heading into those two games. But you still have to perform, of course, on the ice. And that starts Saturday afternoon in Chicago.
I know Dave just mentioned this, but I'm with Dave. Like, the fact that Morrissey at the end of a shift, I'd have to check his ice time, but I imagine he was around well over 25 minutes, right?
Morrissey was at 29:54.
There you go. Yeah, I would assume that he was close to 30. The fact that he ends up finding that energy to just take off just shows you how crazy skilled these guys are in the NHL. Like, really. And and I'm with Dave too about Lowry, who obviously gets stopped on the first one, but then he has Tuck on him, but he just keeps his eye on the prize. And he doesn't start to, like, because Tuck is kind of coasting, and Lowry just stays with the play, keeps his eye on it. And then obviously Bowen Byram slashes his stick, just watching it here on the replay, slashes his stick on the goalpost. But yeah, I mean, a couple of good Alberta boys finishing it off for the Jets. And it's just good to see, joy back in Joyland, because that I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I could talk about another loss here. Like, it was getting pretty boring and repetitive to talk about Jets losses.
Well, you don't need to talk about that one. It's a win tonight for the Jets in Buffalo, 3-2. We come back on the Illegal Curve post-game show. We talk more about tonight's game. We preview a little bit about Saturday's show. Don't go anywhere. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by our friends at Play Now.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now, you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal. Starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Shortly before, minutes before, seconds before 10 o'clock in the evening, this is the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. I can hear, I'm in my basement, and I hear my daughter walking around upstairs. It's 10 o'clock at night. That's always a good sign. That's always great. I'm really thrilled that that's happening right now as I'm sitting here doing the post-game show.
Maybe she has some thoughts on Adam Lowry's overtime goal.
she's got thoughts. Most of her thoughts occur about this hour, where it's anything that she can possibly do to prevent her from going to bed is the thought that is echoing through her mind that she needs to share with us at this point in time. But nonetheless, we will carry on with the post-game show here tonight. Big thanks to all the sponsors of the post-game show. Of course, Play Now, the title sponsor, and then our friends at Seagram's, and of course at Rumors and Holt Dental and Boston Pizza and City Place. Speaking of City Place, will be there on Tuesday before the Jets and the Boston Bruins. So another lunchtime edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. That special noon hour edition we will do on Tuesday afternoon at 12 noon. So if you're in the downtown neighborhood, be sure to join us on Tuesday at City Place, up on the second floor, up in the food court. We'll be there to preview the Jets and the Bruins, which will take place on Tuesday evening. So of course, we're looking forward to that happening. I realized I forgot to do something. Apologies. Let's do it now.
The Seagram's shot of the game.
We'll give it to Adam Lowry and his overtime winner. Don't shake your head at me, Manuk. I saw what you did that.
Getting a little sloppy in your old age, Drew.
I am getting a little sloppy in my old age. I'm tired. I would agree.
I'm not going to say that this is the third time this season already, maybe fourth. We might have to take this responsibility away from you. That's all I'm going to say.
There's no rule that says I have to do it during the game recap.
True.
I can do it at any point during the.
It's an unofficial
broadcast.
rule.
Yeah, it's more of an unofficial rule.
It makes a hell of a lot more sense to do it during the game recap, I will admit. It flows better, but my brain, I need a little bit more of that ginkgo biloba to keep my brain sharp and some, things of that nature to get the brain juices flowing at full capacity. I'm not as young as I once was, as I'm getting a little bit older here. Yeah. My brain doesn't work.
A little long in the tooth.
A little long in the tooth, a little gray in the beard, a little dull in the brain. It's all happening for me, unfortunately. But anyways, there you go. Thanks to Seagram's for their support of the Illegal Curve post-game show here on our YouTube channel. Saturday morning, we have the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. That's coming up at 9 a.m. We're going to be joined by Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press. We'll talk about the Jets with Mike, and Charlie Remuliotis, who covers the Chicago Blackhawks for NBC Sports there in Chicago. And of course, the Blackhawks, as we mentioned, made a coaching change earlier today, so they're going to see if that's going to help their fortunes on Saturday against the Winnipeg Jets. So Charlie's going to join us, and we'll talk about that right around 10:30 in the morning then. So we're looking forward to that as well. It ought to be a good one on Saturday. Then, of course, a quick turnaround before the post-game show Saturday afternoon at 5:30, and then a post-game show Sunday evening at 7:30. So if you haven't quite had your full fill of Illegal Curve, you got Saturday morning, you got Saturday afternoon, and then you got Sunday evening coming your way. So plenty of Illegal Curve broadcasts to come on this coming weekend. Jets win 3-2. As I mentioned, want to say a big thank you to all of you for joining us tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Want to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors. I mentioned them. I'll mention them again because they're just that important to us. Play Now, the title sponsor of the show, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Holt Dental, Dr. Jonathan Holt. I saw him today. We've got some great ideas percolating about some new ads to create, so we got to get off our keisters and do that because John is really excited about some of these ideas that have been emanating from Ginsburg's brain. So you have to rest assured, be afraid at that concept to begin with. But we will see how that plays itself out over the coming
I'm just hoping
week.
he could freeze you during the show, and then maybe we'll get some more airtime.
There you go. You don't count on that happening. Boston Pizza, City Place, and Seagram's support these fine businesses because of their support of Illegal Curve Hockey. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button. You don't need to do that. Dave's going to be mad at you if you don't do that. So go ahead and do that right now. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast. Tell your friends. Tell your family. The best place to be on Saturday mornings and after each and every Winnipeg Jets game is this old YouTube channel. Plenty of post-game coverage still to come on the website, illegalcurve.com. Dave M will have the game recap, and then he'll have the morning papers up before a blink of an eye, bright and early tomorrow morning. Big thanks to all of you for joining us. Jets win 3-2 in Buffalo. For Dave Manouk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks, everyone, for watching us. We'll see you Saturday morning. This has been the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, Follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.